To our live studio audience, another exciting edition of Did You Know? And here we go with round one. Did you know?
The COVID vaccine is free and easy to get. You don't need insurance or an appointment to get your vaccine. Vaccines are available at many locations near you.
And now we're going to double the value. Did you know?
The COVID-19 vaccine is always free of cost. You can visit pharmacies, community health centers, and other health providers in your neighborhood.
And now for the lightning round. Did you know?
The Delta variant of COVID is a mutation that has health experts worried because it's twice as contagious.
Then for our finale. Did you know?
The best way to protect yourself from the COVID Delta variant is to get fully vaccinated. Get your vaccine today.
Find out more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine. Did you know?
Yo, what's good? It's D-Money, and you should definitely check out Fresh Juice every Wednesday, 9 to 11 Pacific, right on Rainier Avenue Radio.
With pint-sized Patron, P-Treasy to Don. Y'all be sure to clean your mirrors as we play brand new hip-hop and R&B from locals and worldwide.
It's ID Yourself, a.k.a. Malcolm Flex. Make sure you check out Fresh Juice every Wednesday, Pacific Standard Time from 9 to 11 p.m.
And to get those exclusive interviews that we be doing.
Sipping a brand new fresh juice every single week.
Every Wednesday, 9 to 11, Rainier Avenue Radio.
Yeah.
Different rules apply when it gets this late, you know what I mean? It's like after hours.
Whatever gets you through the night, it's all right.
Hello, I'm an unpaid spokesman for DJ Sotovaci. I'd like to invite you to listen to his free-form music show. It's popular music the way it was never intended to be heard. Whatever gets you through the night, late nights, here on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Oh, no. Whatever gets you through the night.
There is no secret why Downbeat Magazine calls this Seattle's most important annual jazz event. The 33rd Annual Earshot Jazz Festival hits Seattle stages October with one-of-a-kind live jazz performances and video live streams all the way through November 7th. This year's Earshot Jazz Festival features established masters like Diane Reeves, Chuco Valdez, Dee Daniel, and red-hot young stars like Theo Croker, Emmanuel Wilkins, and Samara Joy, celebrating both Seattle's history and its future in the world of jazz. Earshot teams up with community partners like Langston, the Royal Room, and Rainier Avenue Radio to showcase Seattle's own resident artists. Tickets and more information are available online at earshot.org. That's earshot.org. Once again, Seattle's most important annual jazz event. I agree. Earshot Jazz Festival, hitting stages early October all the way through November 7th. Call for more information.
This is Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
You're listening to Heartbeat Radio. I'm your host, Cindi Bright. Heartbeat Radio is a conversation aimed to take the pulse of corporate America. Opportunities for people of color, we're getting lost in the shuffle of change. I'm that provocateur of change. The hearts of corporate America are addressed. Access and opportunities will be accelerated for all people. Through Heartbeat Radio, you will gain a deeper understanding of what is necessary for change. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Heartbeat Radio on Wednesday evening here. We're happy to have you with us tonight. We're excited to be doing what I'm going to call the final show of showcasing many of the Black women that have risen to run for public office here in the state of Washington. Sometimes, we focus a lot on the King County and the Pierce County, and we decided tonight we wanted to make sure you saw that we are out all over the state of Washington running for office. And so we have two great guests on with us tonight, both of which are running for city council seats. The first half of the show, we are going to have Kristina Martens on, who's running for the Bellingham City Council. On the second half of the show, we're going to have Chaune Fitzgerald running in Richland, a town I don't even know anything about. So it's going to be fascinating to hear from both of them. Let's first welcome Joy Stanford in with me tonight as my co-host here, that we're going to get to see these women and meet. I think, Joy, you might know both of them.
Shawnee, I have met before, not in person, but on Zoom. I believe she's an Emerge graduate. I have to check with her on that one.
She is.
But of course she is, because we've done so many. Yeah, super excited to talk to these ladies out in more rural areas and further out from Seattle-centric and Tacoma-centric
Let's welcome in Kristina Michelle Martens in Bellingham.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, here I am. Hello.
Welcome to Heartbeat, Kristina.
I'm so honored. Thank you so much. This is my first time being not the host of a radio show. And then my first time meeting virtually someone who's been on a TED Talk stage. So this is, thank you, Cindi. You're out there breaking barriers for us all.
We're just doing a few things, just trying to help move the stuff along. You know how that goes. This is what it is. We are so excited to have you. Hi, Gwen. We have such our regular people who are joining us. We are so excited to have you on tonight because we were trying to make sure. This year was a little bit tougher on Heartbeat because last year we didn't have this many Black women running, and Joy and I were on Google.
There was 9 of us.
Yeah,
there was 9 of us.
Who is who? Who are all these folks? And so we're trying to figure out the city. So look, we're at election time. I know ballots are in people's hands, and so we wanted to give you this platform to talk about yourself, your run for office. Who are you? Why did you be brave enough to do this?
Tell us all the things.
It's a complicated story, aren't they always? So I was actually born and raised in San Diego, California by my single white mother. And the town I grew up in is Santee. The nickname of it is Clanty.
Oh, my brother lives there.
There you go. So I was there in the early 90s when it was even less diverse, and I was often the only child of color. In any of my classes, it was myself and one other young lady I went kindergarten through graduating high school with. There were 2 of us in our elementary school, and then in our high school, out of 1,600 students, 40 of us were Black. And we, in 2001, March 5th, we had at that time the largest high school shooting behind Columbine. And I even remember President George Bush being on the ranch for a vacation and taking time out from his vacation to do an emergency, interrupting all broadcasts to talk about how we need to take gun violence in America more seriously. So that was my first time I was let down by a white man in politics that I can, really remember. And from there, as soon as Trump announced he was going to run in 2015, I knew he was going to win, even with 12 other Republicans in the field. And while a lot of people refer to New York City as a melting pot, and to that I absolutely agree. Everyone is kind of jammed in everywhere, trying to get by and live their life. In San Diego, it's much more of a fruit salad, where we all get mixed together during office hours. And then grapes go home with grapes, oranges with oranges, right? Like all the different, but I was with a white mother, so I was not where I was supposed to be a lot of the times, according to the cops and sheriffs.
That's why you related to my TED Talk, I bet.
100%. I was like, oh, she's talking about me. So in San Diego just has so much police force and so much military force that had Trump got us into a war, I was worried. What we saw on January 6th, I thought we were going to see more of, and I thought they were going to be better organized, and that's on me for giving them the benefit of the doubt. Thank God.
Don't have any expectations, and you won't be let down.
Okay, right? But I was like, San Diego's just it's so racist, and no one talks about it, and I was just sick of being the only person of color anywhere I was hired, and everyone telling me that racism is solved. So again, as soon as Trump announced he was going to win, I was afraid we were going to go more Handmaid's Tale. I was like, okay, let's go to the Canadian border. And we is my then boyfriend, then fiance, and now actually husband. With Canadian border, water rich, and racism is everywhere. We know that to be true. But I find a large difference between racism that's taught through family lines, like very much in San Diego, is so much different than racism of ignorance, where they don't have a Black neighbor or a Black friend or a Black coworker. And I was like, okay, well, Trump is going to bring us to the second Civil War. And I think we're really in it right now. I think we're really in the beginning stages of it. I think with technology, it looks a lot different than it did in the 1800s. But there have been clear lines drawn in the sand. And we will continue to lose people of color unless we can recruit more people to our side. So I was like, where can I go where they just don't have an example yet? And after 8 months of
Bellingham,
research,
that was your answer. Bellingham.
8 months of research, and here I am now. So I was like, okay, I grew up again as an only child and then in theater. So I've got the double whammy. I'm like, everyone, all eyes on me all the time. And I'm ready to go out in front of the public. So when we left San Diego, my goal was to be the next Oprah. So what I did when I got here,
we did interview you. That's right. Okay, now I'm remembering. That's right. Okay,
True,
now I know.
true.
I remember now. Okay,
right? Not a lot of people say that out loud. So it's going to be the next Oprah. So I had 2 radio shows here locally. I started a singing competition at a local bar called Bellingham Idol, and we would see about 60 auditioners. We would run for 16 weeks, winner take all, $1,000 grand prize. I love organizing that type of stuff, and I love getting to know the community. We moved up here not knowing a soul and not having 8 jobs lined up at all. So I was like, I can't be in San Diego anymore. It's too racist and it's gonna get crazy.
And then you decide, hey, I know, I'll run for office.
Right. So I'd already made a name for myself publicly. And I was actually the co-host of a short-lived Bellingham Tonight, which was shut down by COVID. But our first episode, we did interview at that point the 2 mayors who were running in the race. And not that they weren't equipped for the job, but it was that real breaking of the veil, like, oh, they're just human beings. Okay. Right. If you do your homework and you put in the work, anyone can do this. That's great. And then after the murder of George Floyd, everyone in the city is like, oh God, what do we do? What do we say? How do we pretend and want to be anti-racist, but it's never had to be put into practicality. So there's an amazing gentleman up here by the name of Terrence Morris, who organized a Black Lives Matter rally that, depending on who you talk to, brought out 5,000 to 7,000 people for that one day. It was insane, and we had 12 people of color speak at that one, and I had a lot of things to say, and I at the same time was getting phone calls from current sitting city and county elected saying, how do we solve this? And in my mind, I'm like, I appreciate that you care, but A, you'll never be able to fully understand what needs to be done. And B, why are you getting paid to copy my homework? If this is a voice you need, if this is a perspective you need that is severely lacking, then you need to pay someone to be part of that conversation in the rooms where the discussions are being had and contributing to the solutions that will actually work for people of color.
That's a powerful thing, Kristina. That's a big issue right now, not just in the political space, but you are absolutely right that the voice of the marginalized woman is us, and the voice of the marginalized woman is not being paid for her voice and is not being put in positions of power. And so racism is about access and power. And so these are the seats. This is why I do the work I do. This is why Joy does the work, is because we're penetrating that power system right now so that our voices can be heard and we can earn a living and gain the power to help change outcomes for our communities.
And you're doing it right when your opponent or forces that be are working against you and not working the right way against you, not fairly, not equitably. And so I say that because not only, I don't know all the things that you've gone through, but, Shaune's coming on in a minute over in Richland. We know what Kathy's been going through over in Walla Walla. We know what right here in my own town, Gig Harbor, Juanita Beard, the things that people have been saying on her Facebook and on social media. Wondering why you guys have all this
pillowcases that are out everywhere.
Yes. Right? Yeah. So we know we're doing it the right way and we're penetrating that power, because as soon as that power gets threatened, boom, that's when they come out and they're like, what do we do? Oh my God.
And all of our major cities like Seattle, look at the women that are making progress now in some of those seats. The Seattle City Attorney race, she is not a woman of color, but definitely has been a public defender and seen what is going on to the
progressive voice.
Yeah, progressive voice. And
like you, Kristina.
Yeah. We were when I heard there were people, I had called some folks to get some input about who are the candidates I need to make sure I host on, and they're like, we have this woman up in Bellingham. I'm like, is that ever like at the border? And I mean, I've never been to Bellingham. I think I've driven through it. And then they were like Richland, and I had to Google, like, where are these cities? Like,
yeah,
you know, and that's scary.
That's why we were wondering, how'd you get there?
Yeah. How did you get there? And we know it's scary for you to do it because the more rural it is, the more, arguably, the more stuff. I was trying to find the right S word to say there, the more stuff that you have to contend with. And so.
And I'm very, so much of my life has really led to this moment and everything that I've gone through. And you know, it takes age and wisdom and perspective to really see it like that. But there's two things about the Pacific Northwest. Boy, do they love to wait to the last minute to get anything done. And that unto itself is really helped me in this race. I was signed up with a team. We were out running March 1st, had paperwork in line. It was not until the last day to file with half an hour to go that I saw two opponents even enter the race. We went 2.5 months thinking I just might be unopposed. And that's fine, because that's running unopposed is not a democracy. And that's at the heart of this. Even in the beginning, it wasn't about winning for me. It was definitely about getting a platform to be able to call attention to issues that I see that I'm dealing with, but also to make people wake up and be engaged and involved in a local election by hopefully seeing someone that not only represents them, and in Whatcom County, only 1.3% of us are Black or African American out of 240,000 people. So it's been really awesome to have support from all races, really, in Bellingham with Western Washington University up here. We just have so many liberals right there in the core.
I was going to ask you, with the university, what's your youth council look like? Like, do you
I came from an endorsed meeting with them tonight, straight here, and then we go back for another one tomorrow. Because it's not, and I've gotten some digs from my opponent who has been here for 40 years, and God bless him for that. You got to live somewhere, right? But I am in touch with the youth because that's who we're leaving all of this to. And it doesn't matter what we can accomplish in, say, a 10 to 15 year period if the next generation lets it all go by the wayside. So really making sure that I'm in touch with what they want to see.
Did you say your opponent's been in the seat for 40 years?
No, it has been in Bellingham for 40 years.
Okay. How long has he been in office?
Never. We're both brand new people.
Okay.
Super fresh. Well, because I was running unopposed, and there's a group up here, and I remember seeing a yard sign around circa 2018. Their slogan is "Save Our Hoods," which I found, offensive. I was like, I don't even know exactly what you're talking about. But if you're making a crack on like inner city neighborhoods, that's highly offensive. But from where we're at, I'm assuming you mean your clan hoods. And I'm like, those are the only two things I got from that sign. And it's a group of
or the dig at having a Black woman. Like,
oh no, this was totally unrelated. This was circa 2018, but it's a group of land owning people in Bellingham who've owned their property for 20, 30, 40 years. They don't want to diversify zoning. They don't want any ADUs or any DADUs. They definitely don't want apartment buildings going up in their hoods because that brings in the urban element.
Mm-hmm. Which translates to Black and brown folks.
Yes.
Just in case our listeners didn't know. Good Lord.
And I don't really want to throw my opponent under the bus, and I know you're not supposed to talk about them at all, really, but my opponent is also a Black man, but in his 60s to early 70s, and then backed by this group, and actually backed by the police department, which he has not put on his website, but is sending in text messages to potential voters. So a lot of the haves heard me at the ground level wanting to shake things up, and they're like, we've got to get someone in the race who can win. And in this time that is so divisive, I think they wanted a sure bet in that of being able to also bring a candidate of color to the table, but he runs on public safety. And the police force,
that's a boogeyman.
There's a C word for that.
Yes.
Well, and I call him Bellingham's Larry Elder. It's not, if anyone was paying attention to the recall race in California, almost perfectly that.
So what do you think? Did you have to go through a primary, or did you just both advance to the general? Or
we had one other person in the race, a woman by the name of Tanya Bowes. In the primary race, Tanya got 10% or 10 or 11. Russ got 31 or 32, and then I ended up with about 55% of the vote.
Oh, okay, good. That's what I'm asking. Joy and I know a little something about how this stuff works. So
even if he did get her little 10%, boy, you got an uphill battle. So good luck.
And that was before the Western students were actually back on campus. So, or any college students in general, because that was in August. So we've definitely been targeting that. I'm down on the campus helping students get registered, print out their voter ballot right there, all the things. And have just been really, really making sure to listen to them too. And I love and adore them. Their number one concern is climate change. And
that's right.
I'm there with you. But I have a 2-year term. I can't have a whole lot of impact on climate change in 2 years. So really trying to get them to understand that that can't be the end all be all of conversations. The only real news source we have in Bellingham has a paywall in the Bellingham Herald. So I want to figure out how to get news to the people in a way that they will digest it. It's when people ask me what Bellingham is like, I say it's like taking a DeLorean back to San Diego in 1985. It's super cute. It's super quaint. They are on the cusp of being so amazing, of being so accepting, of being just a change maker. But it's moving too slowly. Their dreams aren't big enough. And in some instances, we're just focused on the wrong thing, like not being able to get news out, or the fact that all of our city council members are only part-time. And the last time they updated that charter was in 1986. So like how do you think all this work needs to be done is going to get done?
I love what you said, what you said about, what we've done as a society to this next generation. We are leaving them a freaking mess on so many levels, right? On so many levels. And so I love people who are focused on the younger people and trying to mobilize them and get them active. And for any of your listeners, any people who are joining from Bellingham this evening, we need younger people to get politically active. Now, Joy and I are the older women on the show. Let's just start there. And Joy and I met both running for
office in 2018.
And it was awful. And I understand why people don't want to touch or get involved in it. It does take a special kind of person and a thickness of skin to tolerate what goes on. But we can't change it through staying silent, and we can't change it through not having younger people step up to the plate and help us deal with this. And so, shame on the patriarchy for destroying our climate and leaving our families no land. So many things that I can talk about, but I love that that's a focus for you. What can we do to support you right now? I mean, we are in the throes of the
few days,
last few days.
Right? Everyone keeps asking me how I'm doing, and I start laughing maniacally. I'm like, I don't know. I'll know on the 3rd.
There you go.
I have no idea how
Ask me the day after the election, and I'll let you know.
Well, you have a strong, to pull I don't foresee that somebody can make up 25 points, or he can convert in that town with the heavy left-leaning population. So, I'm gonna hold on to that that's going to be a shoe-in for you. And and he will have sold out for no reason, and we will have a progressive person in the seat helping across the state. So that's pretty awesome. Any updates in that area about redistricting and what the implications of any of your districts are? Is that relevant in your being a city council person, I would assume?
It's part of the discussion, but nothing that's come down the line is something that we're actively paying attention to right now. It was conversations we actually had with my campaign team in the beginning, but again, this is only a 2-year term. So
I mean, it's 2 years to begin with. So, I mean,
I've got, and something I get a lot of flack for is I've got my eyes set on higher levels. To me, this is work needs to be done here. Absolutely. And a lot of my naysayers are like, well, she's just using Bellingham to get her foot in the door. And all I can hear is, if I were a white man, it'd be all about my ambition.
We don't care.
Right? And wouldn't you want someone who wants to move up the ladder that came out of Bellingham to support you at state level things? Like, I just don't understand it, but it has to do with my gender and the color of my skin.
But here's the deal. Tell them to look at your website. Look at all these elected officials, including Bob Ferguson.
Bob has been an amazing champion.
But
there's nothing wrong with us being ambitious and having desires to be leaders in our communities and in our state. So that's just a narrative that, again, what you said, if we're white men, then we are considered leaders. And but as Black women having aspirations of higher leadership, there's always a term attached to that. But we don't GAF anymore. So it is what it is, and this is what we're doing, and we're taking over because they have failed us. They have failed our families. They have failed our communities, and we can no longer sit in silence on the sidelines. Now, the implications, Kristina, because you have those desires, is on day 2, you have to start working on identifying succession. And so you've got to bring some younger person with you in this process in some shape or form. And so I know you're thinking about that, and I'm just planting that seed again. We are working diligently, many of us around the state, identifying who the people are in our communities that have leadership skills, and people who are working in certain community spaces so that we can start to get them developed and exposed. So again, any of your listeners who are paying attention, who is interested, who wants to work side by side and do some work, volunteer work, or do something with you in your 2 years, because you can make a difference in 2 years.
Yes, you can.
So you get some things.
And you got a lot of endorsements from sitting county council people and city council people, right?
And I will say, yes, I got that because of the work I'm doing to try with my co-founder, Sue Ling Zhao, and with the backing of the Chuckanut Health Foundation. The director, Heather Flaherty, saw value in a post I made after the murder of George Floyd, of just, I don't have an answer, and this is what it's like to be a Black person in the skin, as you are the person everyone's talking about every time you walk into the room. And the Chuckanut Health Foundation gave us a grant to actually start the work of building a racial equity commission for our community at the county level. And then the Whatcom County and Bellingham City signed on to further that work in May of this year. Nice. So the endorsements I have from local politicians is because I'm actually doing the work right now. I'm actually in the rooms with them.
Look at that. And your endorsements, I have to say, I'm pretty proud of you for your endorsements. Your endorsements are hefty. You know, Nooksack Indian Tribe, Alliance for Gun Responsibility. I mean, it's endless. You've got unions on here, the Sierra Club. Like, they're not going to just endorse anyone. They're going to endorse someone who means business and wants to make change and wants to make good change. And as our favorite quote is, get in good trouble. It sounds like you're getting in some good trouble up there. Yes. Tell us your website.
Yeah, I was just asking the producer to put it up on the screen. So Daniel, if you could throw her website up so people know if you need final donations, or if we just want to keep tabs on what she's doing while she's in city council, because this will not be the last time we see or hear from Kristina.
No.
She's just in a breeding ground right now for some bigger stuff. So we're really thrilled that you came on. There it is.
Yay! Elect Kristina.
Yeah.
That's the goal. I'm so sick of seeing my face by this point. It is
we both
everywhere.
felt the same way when we were running. I told somebody just yesterday, I said, you don't even know how it feels to see your name on signs around your own town. It's weird.
So weird.
Well, we're so happy and thrilled for you, Kristina. Thank you for coming on to our audience. It's electkristina with the K.com. We're following you. Joy and I will be having a debrief about all of these elections in the next couple of weeks. So thank you for coming on with us tonight. We're going to take a quick break and then we're going to be back and bring on our second guest. Thank you, Kristina, for being on with us.
Kristina for Bellingham City Council. Woo-woo!
That up in Saks, our favorite black business.
I want to show you my mug.
Black, yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Check us out on social media. Facebook and Instagram, Rainier Avenue Radio.world, and on Twitter at Rainier Ave Radio.
Rainier Avenue Radio presents
The Community Election Connection Debate.
powered by
Converge
Media,
Powered by
the South Seattle Emerald.
Rainier Avenue Radio will be hosting a series of debates. You'll hear from both candidates. You'll hear pro and con voice. We are requesting your participation. Rainier Avenue Radio presents the opportunity for you to hear directly from candidates
About issues and concerns related
to your interests. Rainier Avenue Radio provides an opportunity for the candidates to secure your vote.
It's your vote,
And your vote matters.
what's important to you.
These debates will cover a combination of topics in response to issues deemed important by our communities and specific issues that impact South Seattle residents.
You have the opportunity to submit questions.
For the moderators,
Moderators will include Rainier Avenue Radio on-air personalities,
community members, people just like you, business leaders, local media, and local journalists. Watch live on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
This is Big Poppy, host of Jazz from the Cabinets. Join me each week for a listening tour of the first century of jazz, an eclectic mix of Dixieland, big band, cool jazz, bebop, contemporary jazz, world jazz, in all forms. That's Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy on Rainier Avenue Radio, streaming worldwide on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
We got the feeling now.
R&B, soul, funk, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. We give you all that and more on Star Time. Join me, Paul Pearson, for a 2-hour trip through the history of R&B. A new episode every week on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Come and get the feeling on Star Time on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Metro League High School Football is back.
Tackles off to the races. He could go all the way. He could go.
It's the return of Metro League High School Football, Friday and Saturday nights on Rainier Avenue Radio.
It's a stutter step inside, breaks a tackle. He's on the He's going to take it all the way. He's going to take it all the way on the sideline.
Exciting Metro League football live on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. It's back.
This is Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
That up in Saks, our favorite black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo.
I always love that song. I still listen to Wale all the time. Welcome back to Heartbeat Radio, everybody. It's Cindi Bright tonight with Joy Stanford here, my co-host. Joy, wasn't it awesome to talk to?
Oh man, I as soon as she said she wanted to be the Oprah, I was like, "That's right." Her answer was she wanted to be the Oprah of the radio. I remember that
cool competition.
And I just thought, wait a second, no. That was before I started.
That's awesome.
But she's fabulous, and I think. Let me just say, I've said it before, the 32 women that are running in this year are some of the most fearless Black women, skilled, and a heart of service. And they should be running for office. And
I just read an article today about that 2022, it's expected the amount of Black women that are going to be running for state legislatures across the country, it's just going to be soaring. And we all know that as Black women, we are fighting for the lives of our families, for the lives of our children, and all of our fight does help everybody else's lives. And so we would be foolish to not pay attention and support these races across the country. That's going to happen.
Amen.
Second half of the show, we want to welcome in. We have Chaune Fitzgerald on with us, who's running for city council in Richland. I understand we might have some Wi-Fi issues a little bit, and I understand there's a windstorm going on outside. Apparently, even our show is pretty spotty, and people are having troubles with the internet. So let's see if we can bring Chaune in, if it's okay, if it's working. Chaune, we see your name.
We can't hear her. Oh no!
I sent her a note. And
this is why we need broadband throughout the entire state of Washington.
She was calling from the rural Richland, right?
She is. She's calling from rural.
We'll give her a few minutes and see if she can get signed back on. I know it's challenging there, but the producer said she just dropped off, so we're going to try to bring her back. Try to bring her back so we can get her highlighted.
I did not know though that Kristina's opponent was a person of color, a man of color. And so I was very surprised by that.
I was disappointed. You know, you get disappointed when you see that it's okay for two Black people to run against each other. That's okay. But when you join up with the conservatives for the sake of trying to get yourself known, and I'm being presumptuous here, but you know, just hearing the things that she said.
When you would think that he would be more supportive and be like, she is really trying to push the cause for Black folks, Black and brown folks in her community, as well as, I mean, her website says it all, like environmental, socioeconomics, like she's housing, she's got it all. So
we knew that there's some is there snowstorms over there? We don't even know where Richland is. So welcome to Heartbeat Radio tonight.
I do.
I am over the mountains and through the woods.
Through the woods. We're so excited to have you on. We were saying, this is our final show this season, this election season, to get the Black women highlighted. And so we're so thrilled that we could get you on and showcase you. We love seeing you out in the country through the woods, strange stuff. So let's hear from you about Richland, Washington. Where is it? How's your campaign going? What should we know about you?
Well, you know what? I just want to thank you for having me, and I am so excited to be here. I am in the last hours of this campaign. I'm literally counting the hours, okay? And I didn't. You go through this point where you have all this time, and then you look up and you have no time, and you got all this stuff you're trying to get done. So I know Joy has actually ran, and she understands this. And
so has Cindi.
Cindi, Cindi, you know, I've been doing a little
2018.
I've been doing a little research, and I just want to say how phenomenal both of you are, and I'm so excited to be here to talk to you both about my campaign, and I'm learning so much from the two of you as well. So.
Well, tell us about what's happening with your campaign over there in Richland.
Okay, so Richland is definitely a different area. It is the eastern part of Washington, and it is definitely a very conservative area of Washington. And I believe historically, I am the first African-American woman to not to run, but to get this far. I made it first in my primary, and also, it's, you know, if it's in the cards, as they say, that, you know, I will be the first African-American to serve on this, in this capacity in our city. So it is a very exciting time, not just for me, but for those who are wanting change. So Richland, Washington is one of 3 cities. They call our area Tri-Cities because Richland, Kennewick, and Pasco.
Right.
And Pasco is typically where the African Americans live, and most people historically, it was a town that was a sundown town that Blacks couldn't live, and everything had to be done in certain areas of the town. So Richland, out of the 3 cities, was known to be more, have more racial issues in the past and not as accepting to African Americans. In 2009, there's an article on me that Tri-City Herald put out because it was a big to-do that a Black person actually opened a business in Richland. And I was one of the few first in their mind that had ever had a business, a salon in this city. So I was like, wow, moving here from Georgia, that was like a big thing.
What took you there?
Okay, so I moved here because my husband works for this nuclear site called the Hanford site. And it's one of the largest employers in this city, in this state, actually. And we have a lot of implants in this city, a lot of African Americans that are transplants. This is not their native home, of course, but there are some very wonderful African Americans that I have met from all over the East Coast and West Coast that come here for work. So I've been here now, almost 10 plus years, and I have basically begged for sweet tea, begged for Popeye's chicken, all the stuff that I'm just used to. So just find a little sense of culture in this town. And, slowly but surely, we're starting to get those things. And it's just a little joke of ours that we are finally getting a Popeye's chicken here in Kennewick. So just to let you know how far behind we are a little in some ways culturally.
What's the percentage of Black people that live there and brown? Like what does that look like over there?
Well, the African American community historically moved here to help build this town, and they were working at the Hanford Project and doing jobs to help support that project. And currently, we're like 1.9%, okay, and of African Americans in this town, and I believe we're in the like 20 to 30%, almost 30% Hispanic. So, pretty much, we are, less than 2% in all 3 cities. So,
but from a BIPOC perspective, then that's 30-something%.
Yeah, altogether.
That is true. That is true. When you look at it collectively, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that, I think, I don't know if it's the right word, but that helps, I think, a little bit. That because their Hispanics are. What is that noise I'm hearing? Do you hear that? I don't know what that noise is. Sorry about that.
It's someone typing.
No,
is that my producer, Daniel? Is that you? Sorry, I just got distracted there.
We can hear it. Oh, there's an echo. Okay.
Are you on a phone, Chaune?
I switched because the internet keep kicking me off. So
that's what I thought. Okay.
I cannot join you by this, but we can.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
It's fine. I was just going to say that the BIPOC people. Did we just?
Oh, we just lost her
again. Maybe it was the wind coming through or something.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is that she's in a 30-something% area. Okay, she's back. Then that at least those people will understand issues around marginalization and things that she would be aiming to represent. So that will help her election, I think. Yeah. Let's see. We have her back, but she's frozen a little bit. You guys got a windstorm going on over there, Chaune?
Yeah. This is technology these days. This is
it's
pretty typical.
It's not, one of my people texted me and said she's been trying to push the show on the internet is just crazy in other places. So it might be a lot of wind outside today. We'll just
tell her to go backstage and just turn on her mic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I pulled up the article. She is right. They did an article on her in 2000. What is this? 2010. Salon has a stage savvy stylist because she is known to have done the Miss USA and Miss Universe pageants because she's a
Oh,
hairstylist.
wow. Wow,
So
wow.
that's her background, and I wanted her to speak to that as well as some of her platform. But she did speak to us at Opportunity Pack about that, and
What
we were
was
just all
okay?
kind of.
Here he is. He brought the article.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah.
Yes.
And so it just was really interesting that that's her background. And, you know, she's right. Why did you do an article? Someone just opened a business. It's like, really? I was like, it's just a business. But
It's like this, Joy. It's like oh.
Unearned media. Yes.
Can I feel your hair? Like,
yeah, I love that she got the unearned media. So
yeah. I forgot about Tri-Cities has that Hanford.
Nuclear based.
So that nuclear thing. So that
they employ a lot of people, and it sounds like her and her husband, I guess he got transferred here in 2007. So they had to come.
When I first came here, I was just going to comment about I would be kicking and screaming if I went there, but I came here kicking and screaming because we got brought here. The Navy moved me here and stationed us at submarine base Bangor. And this was in 19.
Oh, that's right. You did tell me that.
1994, and there were like no people of color.
Yeah, they were in Bremerton. You just didn't know it.
Yeah, I just didn't know. But it was quite a sticker shock.
There she is. Yeah,
I'm back.
All right.
Yes.
We'll pull up the article and we're looking at your headlines about the
savvy stylist. Back in 2010, your article.
Yes. I think I did share about it. One of my superpowers that most people don't know that I have traveled the industry for many years as a business brand ambassador and also with my own brands, and just it was just still part of my life. I probably would never ever release it unless it just let me go, but I have definitely been in the forefront of the hair industry for many years, training, doing teaching all over the world and coming up with new trends and setting the trends for the year, working for major companies, some of you that you may recognize, Bronner Brothers. I was their creative, on their creative team for many years. And then I started working for a company out of Houston called Farouk Systems. And then I started traveling with the Miss USA, Miss Universe, Miss Teen pageants and doing, the runways and the different backstage for different events. So yes, that.
Well, I saw that, and did you see the picture that I used on my flyer? I did you with the big hair. For some reason, I have a thing about big hair, so I I used your picture with your full hair, the curls that you had, and it was just a stunning picture of you. So yes.
Well, do you want to talk? You know, I did this for the campaign.
Yes.
Do you want to talk more about your campaign and how the campaign is going for you?
I do, and I just want to say it's been a great experience. Eastern Washington is what it is. We are a growing community of we're growing diverse wise as far as I feel like we are getting more African Americans that are moving to this town, and not just moving here for work, but also staying. Like they're retiring and finding this place to be home. And one thing I think that was even an eye opener for a lot of citizens is that how well I did in the primary. Like no one, the person that I was running against, he had been in his seat for almost 20 plus years, and he used to be the mayor, and it was like, wow, I think for an African American to come on the scene, another woman of color, and to change those things was huge for this town. And I've gotten some really great feedback. I got to say, I have had so many, and this is their words, and they tell me all the time, Chaune, you need old white men to speak up for you. And that's exactly what they've been doing. They're coming out, they're driving my signs, they're standing on corners, they're waving at the crowd. And they said, this is what's going to make the difference. We need to let the city know that it's okay. And I said, well, I appreciate that. And thank you.
No, that's awesome. Yes. And it's powerful. And for the old white men to know that it's time, the world has changed. And so when they recognize that we need new leadership, we need new thinking, we need more progress, like they won't be the people that can take us into the future. Yeah. I don't know if you got to hear Kristina talk a little bit, but she was talking about the young people up in Bellingham because of the college that's up there and the interest in the movement of young people. Do you have anything like that in your area that you are concerned with or are working with in the youth aspect?
Well, yes, I have a 20-plus-year-old son that just moved back from Bellingham, and I know exactly what movement. He was there for many years, and he loved Bellingham. Actually, he just moved back this year, and he talked to me all the time about how he loved it there because of just what you mentioned, how the people are and how welcoming he felt, and he just didn't feel that same tension and pressure that he felt over in Eastern Washington.
Yes.
And he recently moved back to Tri-Cities because it was just a little bit less to live here. He works from home. But yes, I agree. The youth that and the young adults, the 20-year-olds, the young voters, they are so excited. And I think it streamed definitely from our last year and a half, what we've went through with our social justice system and how they want to see the change, and they're standing up and they're speaking up. So I definitely feel that.
We got a comment. I'm asking the producer to show the comment. There it is.
Okay.
So it's good to know old white men are good for something.
We've got some great supporters, old white men included.
Yeah.
But it is good to know that Chaune has that out in Richland, Washington.
Yeah.
Because I think whoever gave you that advice was very right in saying that. Yes.
Yeah. So we
definitely.
Well, we all have grown sons. So we have, your son's 20, mine is 29. Joy's got two sons. Joy, how old is your son?
21, 22. Sorry, Benjamin. 22 and 35.
Yeah, so we know
20 plus because I didn't want to add too much. I didn't want you to do the math.
I boast about my age, so it is what it is.
Not me.
Well, I heard that. I think I watched one of your interviews or a couple of them, and you were talking about that.
Yeah, it just is what it is, right? And I say that it's just freedom for me. So I'm unleashed now that I don't have to be concerned about, what they think, or I don't have to, do the things I used to have to do for work and money and all that sort of stuff. But the reason I brought that up about our kids, our young adults, is because, they are the generation that is right at the forefront right now. And when you look across the country at, particularly the progressive states, the AOC, the squad, like the progression is being pushed. And so our kids, our young adults that we've raised are ready for something different. We're handing them a mess. And we're handing them systems that are not built for them, and systems and climate and all the things that are going to destroy their lives and their kids' lives. And so it's really important that we're all running for these seats right now and helping to start drive and open those opportunities and doors for this next generation to step in.
Absolutely, I agree. And I am not here in this capacity, but as commissioner on African American Affairs for Southeast Washington, I am definitely going to be speaking on our 10-year plan of dismantling poverty and also dismantling the systemic systems that are in place that have been oppressing people. And, I will definitely be speaking on those issues and hoping that we are engaging in those issues as, a councilwoman, just to be transparent and to make sure that they are, paying attention to some of the things that are happening in Olympia that trickle down to us, And part of why I'm running too is to make sure that not only are we engaging in what Olympia is doing, but Olympia and some of the things that they're doing trickles down to us too, because a lot of times we have been getting left out with
Yeah.
resources, because we're here. We do have an African American community here, but sometimes we get left out in some of the funding, which, you know, I'm excited to be part of the Black experience, which is the Black outdoor experience on that task force, which is including and making sure that there's equity in the Black experience with outdoor recreation. I never thought of that. Like, you know, you're right. Like how, you know, how those dollars are being spent in making sure they're fair, and that we are taking advantage of some of those opportunities just to get outside, you know, nothing else for our mental health, and that we have things that we want to do that is supported by our government.
Mm-hmm. And Chaune, I assume I make the educated guess that you win, and that you start looking at bringing some other people along for school boards and other things to help starting to get these systems of inequities dealt with from an education, earning power. If you Google me and see what I do, I mean, that's the lane that I'm in, is about earning power and taking down the structures in corporate America that are creating these issues for communities. And poverty is not race specific. Poverty has there's so many tenets to that, but definitely to address inequities and addressing poverty begins to solve a lot of the other issues that are out there. And so we're active in that space. Joy is,
Well, we just appreciate you putting fear behind you and stepping up to run, because it's not easy, and we know it's not easy. We both have been in the seat that you're in right now, and as we're coming down to the last couple days, tell us what you need from your community, or from us, or from the community at large. What are you needing right now? What's your website?
Yes. Can we get her website up, Daniel?
I tell you what, I went through this whole, I took the class, right? I took the Emerge class. I graduated in this year, and I had all these things that, you know, we're supposed to do. And the first thing they were like, get you a good campaign manager. And I don't have one. They're like, make sure you have a treasurer. And I'm like, honey.
We lost her. Darn it.
We lost her right at the end. But no, there's her website, ShauneFitzgerald.com. Send her the last few dollars she might need. If you're over in Richland, let's see you out there on the corner with sign waving. Make some phone calls for her so she can get up. There she is. So we can make sure she gets folks out to vote for her.
Yeah, so we're going to make a long story short. Basically, I took the class, but nothing prepares you for the real deal. And sometimes you just got to do what you got to do and make the best of it. So we're at the last hour, and I'm doing everything possible to make sure that my name is being spoken, and the works that I've done, you know, the impact that I've already had on this community is what is endorsing me. But today I have been endorsed by some very wonderful organizations such as Opportunity PAC, and I appreciate that donation. Yes, thank you so much. And also today, you know, at the last hour, I got 2 endorsements from a union and a check. So it's just encouraging to know that people are mindful of me. They are watching my race, and they are supporting me. And my PDC shows community support versus my opponent, who's pretty much large corporations out of Washington State, Olympia area, Seattle area. So I'm just inspired just by the community. And I just would like for everyone, each one reach one, nothing better than word of mouth. You know, people are asking now who to choose from. And I just got the endorsement from our Tri-City Herald newspaper. So I'm hoping that's going to give me the push that I need, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Look, Chaune, we are at the hour here. We wanted to take a minute and just thank you so much for coming on. We are so honored to have you on here so we can showcase you. We will be pushing the show out. It's being pushed as we speak, but we'll make sure your constituents see it. So thank you so much for coming on, and we're sending huge blessings. Joy and I are monitoring every single campaign to see so we can celebrate with you. To our listeners, thank you.
We're there with you.
We're there. To our listeners, thank you for joining us this evening. This is the last of all of the Black women we were trying to highlight shows. And so you have your ballots in your hand. Get your votes, get your ballots turned in, get these women elected.
Richland needs Shawnee. Richland needs Shawnee.
It does. And next week, we're going to pivot a little bit back into corporate America. I am excited for our next week's show. I am bringing on a bold, badass chairman of a company who, unlike any chairman I've ever spoken with, his name is Roderick Bones. He's coming on. His company is Concentric, and I can't wait for you to hear him talk about the progress and the things his company is doing around racial equity unapologetically. So can't wait to see you all next week. Shawnee, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Shawnee. Go Shawnee for Richland City Council.
Yes. Good night to everybody. Have a good week.
That up in Saks, I favor black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo.